I was supposed to come first, then he was supposed to come, and then I'm here today anyway. So it's I'm going to talk about the United Nations today. Well, I won't have enough time to go deeply into it, but briefly to mention the main issue, that is the reform of the United Nations, because obviously there is a need that is quite widespread that the United Nations have to be reformed to face the challenges of the 21st century. There was a summit 3 years ago in New York. It was the largest UN summit ever held. And there was a document at the end of the summit, the outcome document. And it spelled out a number of reforms to make the United Nations more effective. So the international community, all the countries in the world, 192 countries, agreed that we have to do something about this problem. We have to make the United Nations more effective. But how can we do that? That's not an easy answer. In 2005, a few decisions were made. It was decided that we should create new bodies in the United Nations. Therefore, the Peace Building Commission was created. The Peace Building Commission is a new body aimed at helping states that come out of conflicts rebuild themselves. Peace building is an investment in the future. We shouldn't just keep the peace, but we should build the peace. We should help states have solid, viable institutions, viable economies, so that they do not relapse into conflict, say, 5 years after a peace deal has been signed. So that was one of the decisions that were made at the summit, to create the Peace Building Commission. Another one was to create a Human Rights Council. There was already a body in the United Nations body that dealt with human rights. That was the Commission on Human Rights, but it seemed discredited. It seemed, I say it seemed because I don't quite agree with that, but the idea at the time was that the Commission on Human Rights hadn't performed well enough for the protection and promotion of human rights worldwide, so it was decided to create a new body, the Human Rights Council. Another decision that was made at the summit was to make the United Nations Secretariat more effective, more efficient, which means that when I say the Secretariat, I mean the United Nations Secretary General, which is the highest official, of course, and all the bureaucratic structure that depends on him. The idea was, in fact, to have a more efficient secretariat with none of the problems that we faced in the past, including scandals. So a number of measures were taken by the previous Secretary General and by this Secretary General, by Kofi Annan before, and now by Ban Ki-moon. So that is something else that was done as a result of the United Nations World Summit. But the main reform, the mother of all reforms, is the reform of the main UN body, which is the United Nations Security Council. And that has not been accomplished yet. The reform of the Security Council, why do we need to reform the Security Council? Well, the obvious answer is because the world has changed. The Security Council was last expanded in 1963 after the United Nations membership grew as a result of the decolonization process. But then, since the 60s, many more states joined the United Nations, and also the balance of power has changed. Now we have new powers. We have countries that in the 60s weren't as powerful as they are today. So there is a consensus on the need to change the Security Council to make it more representative of the international situation as it is today. But there is no agreement on how to do that. So now, you know, the Security Council, we have 5 permanent members, the victors of World War II, as it is: France, Great Britain, the United States, Russia, and China. Over the years, especially over the last 15 years, especially after German reunification, new countries such as Germany have made their bid to become permanent members. There are 4 countries in particular that want to become permanent members of the Security Council. One is Germany, the other one is Japan. Then we have India and Brazil. These 4 countries are called the G4, the Group of 4. They have made an alliance. Their goal, their shared goal, is to become members, permanent members of the Security Council, because they say we are powers in this new international situation. Our power, our contribution, the contribution that we can bring to world peace has to be recognized. Therefore, we think that we should become members of the Security Council. But then, there are other countries that say this is not the right way to go about the reform of the Security Council. One of them is Italy, but not just Italy. I can name other countries, important countries, such as Pakistan, Argentina, Spain, Canada, Colombia, and many others, and China as well. This group of countries is some sort of an alliance as well. And what these countries say, they say the idea of permanent members is a result of the Second World War. Okay, so it's almost a historic accident, if you wish. What's the point? What's the point of creating new situations of privilege today? That is anachronistic, that is undemocratic, because being permanent member means that, you know, you're chosen to become a permanent member, and then for the rest of your life, you're a permanent member. You don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to be accountable. No one's gonna is not gonna kick you out. So it's undemocratic, which is a very important principle, because say you allow a country to become a permanent member now, in 2 years, 10 years from now, that country becomes, you know, that country changes. That country is not the country that was chosen today. Things change. You know, that's the argument of the countries that we want to become permanent members. So yes, we have to adapt the Security Council to the changes, but not with a situation that will become permanent again. What this group of countries, Italy, Argentina, Pakistan, and the others, propose is that, okay, there are countries in the world that can bring a bigger contribution to world peace than others. Fine. Let's give them an opportunity to be in the Council more often. Okay? Because now, the Security Council, you have the 5 permanent members, and you have 10 non-permanent members elected for 2 years. So, what we say, and they cannot be re-elected immediately after those 2 years, what we say, we could consider eliminating this condition of not being re-elected immediately afterwards. So they could be re-elected for another 2-year term.